Welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes with DailyStraits.com, hosted by Jude Ravli. Today, we're delving into the innovative world of Scoot Boots, an Australian company that's redefining horse hoof care with their alternative to traditional metal horseshoes. Honored with the E-commerce Exporter of the Year award at the 61st Australian Export Awards, Scoot Boot has made significant strides under the leadership of former farrier and co-founder David Macdonald and CEO Annette Kaitinis. I hope I got the last name correct. Expanding into 100 countries, they've highlighted the global demand for their thermoplastic under urethane boots designed for optimal horse comfort and hoof health. So without further ado, let's welcome David and Annette to the show to dive deeper into the story of Scoot Boots and a remarkable journey to the equine industry. So for full disclosure, I used to be a horse rider, which is why I'm very, very interested in this story. So how are you guys doing today from beautiful Hobart? So I was there as well in October. I love Hobart as well. So how are you guys today?
We're doing well. It's our last day for the year of work. So we're
All right. So we'll go
Getting
to
ready for Santa Claus on his way, so we've got to make some room for him.
Awesome. So let's start with a really, really easy question for Annette. What was the journey of Scoot Boot from concept to market, and what were the initial steps taken to its establishment? So basically, how did you get your start? What was the problem that you wanted to solve? Yada, yada, yada.
okay. Well, there was no problem that I wanted to solve at the outset. I was a practicing barrister in Melbourne, and I came back to Tasmania, where I was born and raised. And I reconnected with Dave, who was a farrier of mine many years ago. And Dave, at that point in time, had just trialed a prototype which he had designed, and he was looking for a business partner. And so at that point in time, after doing my due diligence, as most lawyers do, I agreed to continue the journey with Dave and get this product out there into the world.
So how far back was this?
That was 2014.
14,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we took some time to get the product, or to commercialize the product, and in 2015, in April, we then launched.
Wow, alrighty. So it's almost 10 years in a couple of days, right? So, okay. Yep. No.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So, okay, David, let's go to David. Can you provide the details about the initial investments and financial backing that helped launch Scoot Boot? So this is a question that most e-commerce, when you start, right, how much do you have to set aside? Because, the first 2 years of any e-com business, right, you're burning cash, like 2 years of burning cash before you get a sale or before you break even. So how much did you set aside in comparison with your livelihood, the rent, and, every other thing that you needed to pay? So what was the thinking behind that?
Well, when you first start, obviously you've got to allow enough for development. You've got patents is the first thing, because you can't, once you put the prototype together, it's got to be patented. You've got to obviously have your protection. Then you've got to, once you get the product actually working, then you've got to spend a lot of time with manufacturing research. Luckily, I had good contacts in Jakarta that I could utilise for this new project. So I went to Jakarta, we started the prototyping process, and then as most people that's been in this sort of business understands, once you actually get the product, then you've got to have supply. So we were very lucky the way we went about it in the first place, that we got supply sort of infrastructure in place before we really launched to the world. But as Annette will say later on, day one really, we went through the international market, because knowing the market, we knew the demands are out there. We knew that the product was going to be very popular, because it's a revolutionary product. And so, so from day one, we knew exactly where we were going. There was no guesswork involved.
So did you still hold on to your day jobs, or were you out of your jobs and doing this full time? How was that?
Yeah, basically a little bit of day job, and but mostly a lot of travelling initially with the work liaising with the manufacturer. So yeah, really from day one, you're focused on your product. You can't take your, you can't spend too much time doing other areas when you're focused.
I had a bit of a crossover, so I was still practicing, even though I was in Tasmania, I was still practicing at the bar in Victoria. So I would travel over once a week and do a couple of appearances and then in court and then come back. But primarily I was working 7 days a week, essentially, to try and get the product ready to launch. And Dave had an e-commerce business at the time, and was selling some equine products. But when Scoot Boot took off and both of us got extremely busy, so I've stopped practicing, and Dave came in full time at
So
that time.
did you have any external investors pumping in money for the travel, and how much was the cost like in the?
No, we didn't have any external investors. We did it ourselves. And we were lucky that the product was very, very much sought after right at the start. So the profits that we generated from the outset helped us, of course, produce more products. We started with 8 sizes. We've now got around 40. So all our profits and revenue were going straight back into the business so that we could expand. So no, we had no external funding at all. We had funding by way of grants from various stakeholders and government entities and departments, but we really just funded it ourselves.
And I think probably that we both, well, we know it from day one, we both knew that this product was going to be successful. So it wasn't as if you're taking a big gamble. It's gamble, any sort of business venture is a gamble, basically, but not to the extent that we knew the market, and we were confident that investing in this product, we're going to have success with it. And it showed very early that was the case.
And especially in Europe, because Europe was miles ahead in relation to barefoot movement, as opposed to shoeing a horse. And so in Europe, we knew the market would be huge there, to a lesser extent in America. But fast forward 8 years since we launched, the barefoot market has really sped up in America and gained huge momentum. So our market will eventually be primarily in America rather than Europe, I would think, because there's so many more horses in America. But it's a market that we knew we could tap into straight away.
Okay, so when you started, you said something about Jakarta. So I presume it's overseas made with an Australian touch. Is it still the same, or is it 100% Aussie made now?
Yeah, it's we manufacture in Jakarta. All our international sales go directly out. We export out of Jakarta rather than bring them back to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
We do bring a certain quantity back to Australia for our warehouse here, but the majority goes direct from the factory.
Our factory essentially is our 3PL. So we're 90% wholesale. So most of our wholesale orders will go out of Jakarta. We look after the retail market here in Hobart. So we just stock retail product and wholesale product for the market in Australia. But essentially we're wholesale, and very small component is retail, B2C.
So when you started going there early on, David, I just wondered if you speak any Indonesian, because were you conversing in English? How did this work? How did you start? Like, did you go online to find them? Because Indonesia, most of the stuff is in Indonesian. The English is very little there in those days in 2014. Now it's different. So how did you do this?
Well, I'd previously been over I've met these gentlemen in Jakarta many years earlier through some previous manufacturing. And so I had the contacts to start with, and that's how I and they obviously speak fairly good English. It's different degrees in their teams there, but managers got very fluid English. The 3D operator, the ones we do all the designing through, he can speak English, but it's broken English. So yeah, we get by okay. My my Indonesian's not very confident.
Oh, okay, but you can speak a bit. You can speak English.
I just say a few words, yeah, but yeah. But yeah, we rely on their ability, and sometimes there's been there's been a bit of an interpretation issue, and that's why it was vital to be over there in the initial stages to be able to physically demonstrate what was required until they got a grasp on it. Once they got a grasp on it, they're very clever. So once they got a grasp of it, then it was pretty straightforward.
Okay, so one last question on the startup of your business before we move to the technical question of the boots itself. So when you start a new business, right, getting market to sell your product is one of the hardest thing because you're new, who would want to buy you, because so what was your strategy in the beginning? Were you giving out free scoot boots for horsemen to try out and then hoping that they give you the good name, the word of mouth, or were you selling from the get-go? What was your initial strategy in selling your product?
The initial strategy was using social media. So we really sprung from our social platform when we first launched. So we spent a good 8 months just working up, well, I shouldn't say working the market up to a frenzy, but we were getting people very interested in our product, and our Facebook followers increased by the day. So by the time we did launch, we had quite a large following and word of mouth across the globe that Scoot Boots were launching very soon. And then we had a small advertising agent, I should say a digital marketing agency at the outset who assisted us. And we then worked out a very, very basic marketing strategy to get us going, a lot different to what we do now, but we really couldn't spend a lot of money and resources on marketing because we simply didn't have the funds to do that. So, but we were very lucky because we had a product that was very much in demand from day one when we launched. So, and it just snowballed from there. We grew very much organically, 30% year on year, without really not having much of a marketing budget behind us.
So you
probably our timing was probably good there too, because there was an advent of the barefoot people. The barefoot movement was starting to crank up worldwide. So there was a demand if people were going to take their metal shoes off, because a lot of research had gone into the damage to the hoof capsule through metal. And so people saying, okay, if I'm going to take my metal shoes off, they've been driven with all this education, then what am I going to use instead of metal? And that's where we came along, which was good timing with the advent of the barefoot movement worldwide, which is rapidly growing. And that's obviously a great, that's the best ambassador for your product. And as you know, you had horses. Horse people love to chat about their horses, so word spreads pretty quickly in that area.
And you did mention about sponsoring riders using our product. We did give away a lot of free product right at the outset, and still do, by the way. We sponsor and get behind a lot of organisations, associations, events. We sponsor events that are taking place across the globe every day, but we did give away a lot of complimentary product just so that it could get out there on the trails. People could see it, touch it, feel it, look at how it's working, performing, and that's the way we really started our advertising, by just getting our product out there for all different types of riding discipline, in all different types of riding disciplines.
Yeah, okay. So I have been a horse rider, and I do see it's very cruel, the traditional metal horse shoes, right? It's very cruel thing because you need to hit a nail to get it in if I'm and it's really really sad to see. So okay, so in what ways does your product that use thermoplastic urethane, can you explain what that is? In Scoot
It's,
offers advantages over traditional metal horseshoes. So what is the benefit, like basically using crossing over to your product?
well, as we know, the research has gone into human footwear. So over the years, back at the turn of the 20th century, everybody had hobnail boots.
Mm.
Okay, but then because they had metal nails in the boots on the soles, a big thick, so it was a necessary item, obviously the boots. But over the last 100 years, especially like Nike and Adidas, all these big major American brands and European brands, Reebok and so forth, they put all this research into human footwear to make them as comfortable as possible. And yet in the equine world, we're putting metal on
Mm.
their feet.
Mm.
So it just didn't make sense.
Mm.
Why should humans have a shock absorbing footwear where the horses still had metal? And it was in 1982, a dissertation was done in Zurich, in Switzerland, about the damage, the concussion caused by a metal shoe. And this scientist called Luca Bean, he did a dissertation where he said that a shod horse at a walk on pavement surface has 3 times the concussion as a barefoot horse at a trot on the same surface. So that was a dissertation that was proven. And so suddenly this information say to people, okay, metal is doing this to your feet. Why not seek out the same comfortable footwear that absorbs concussion like human? And hence that's where we came in with the horse boots. Then we had to find a material that would absorb concussion, because there's no point putting a boot on that's not going to absorb concussion after, because that's the reason for the movement. And so this particular material, we researched different sorts of material that have abrasive qualities as well, because as you know, a horse is a very big, strong animal, very heavy, and a lot of friction on those feet. And so if you're going to bring out a product, it had to be able to absorb the forces that by the weight movement of a horse. And so that's where all research into the best products were done, and then that's where we end up using what's called a thermoplastic urethane, which you said earlier, which has got high shock absorption qualities and high abrasion qualities. So these are the necessary components when you're dealing with weight and movement of a horse.
Okay, so how does Scoot boot enhance the overall health and comfort of a horse compared to conventional horseshoes? You might have touched on that, but maybe you can give me one distinctive, advantage of using your product.
Yeah, well, when a horse's hoof loads up on the ground, as the bony column descends down into the hoof capsule, when a horse is galloping or cantering, all this up to 70% of the body weight is coming down on the front feet.
Mm.
So the foot has to flex to allow that bony column to descend down into the hoof capsule. Has to flex to be functional. As soon as you put a metal shoe, you're caging that foot, you're restricting that foot.
Oh.
So the entire weight is loading up on a metal rim. And that's the devastating thing for the hoof capsule. You're getting, instead of the weight being taken over the entire surface of the sole of the foot, it's only landing on a perimeter. It's what we call peripheral loading. So the entire mechanism of the hoof is compromised. Circulation is damaged. Flexing of the hoof capsule is damaged. Hence, the horses continually shot end up with a contracted hoof. That you get pathologies within the hoof capsule that create long-term lameness issues. So it's just the physics, total physics, that a barefoot flexes where a metal shod foot tries to flex. You get a little bit of movement in the heel area of on the metal shoes, where you get a bit of wear, but the entire foot is restricted. And that's the damning things of long-term metal shoeing, but over the centuries, it's just been a temporary fix to make a lame horse comfortable.
And we try and convey that to everyone out there, all the equine owners. And I always say this, we just don't sell a product, but we try and let everyone know, hey, you know, this is what's happening. There's a better alternative now, and we have that alternative. And people are starting to listen and realise, you know, this is, you know, something that is so much better for the horse.
Yeah.
Good example of that one, a really good example that came earlier on, that the Houston Mounted Police in Texas, USA, all their horses are out, as you can imagine, all police horse units out on the pavement all day long, are all having significant issues with the sounds of their horses. So a very forward-thinking sergeant in the police force, Rick Skoskowski, he decided to go and venture down this barefoot movement and do some exploration in it, and he found a huge difference. They're saving up to $100,000 US a year on veterinary bills since their horses went barefoot, because as you probably imagine, that a police horse, they only get the older horses. They've got to be about 9 years old, basically. There's the prime age for a police horse, because they're settled, they've been well educated, and they can do anything with them. But if they've got metal shoes on, they're breaking down. So you spend all this money training a horse, then you've got to retire him because he's lame. Whereas the barefoot horse has got a lot longer career. The business, the Houston Council, the Mounted Police, the administration, they're saving $100,000 just in one police force. So the evidence is there, and that the movement is rapidly gaining traction. And it's, as Annette touched, it's all about education. We've got to educate the customer out there. There's a lot of traditionalists who don't want to go down that track. There's a lot of money involved in shoeing horses and supply of metal horseshoes and nails worldwide. So there's been a bit of a pushback from there, but it's rapidly changing.
Okay, so I am looking at the product right now, and I just wondered, does this product come with a expiry date, or can you use it forever? Because the metal boots, the metal thing that I was talking to you about, that one is long lasting. Even though it's very cruel, it's long lasting. And
No,
yeah,
the shoes only last 5 to 6 weeks, because you need to take them off to trim the horse. And a lot of the times, if you've done a lot of riding, that metal would have worn down to barely nothing. I'm right there. Dave's a farrier, not me, by the way. But our product lasts for approximately 1,000 Ks. So if you're doing a few Ks a week, they're going to last 2 years. It depends on how much riding you do, and of course how heavy the horse is and the type of gait and the type of terrain. But lasts a lot longer than a shoe, because the shoe, once you take the shoe off, it's not set, it's not put back on. A new shoe is put back on. So you need a new shoes every 5 to 6 weeks.
So 100K is for, can you enlighten me there? 100K is for
1,000 Ks.
1,000 Ks or what? Going around?
Yep, 1,000 kilometres in.
Okay.
Right on rocky trails, sealed highways, they call them pavements in the US. Any of that sort. The other big thing too is the traction. Very dangerous riding on. In the UK, for instance, they ride down what they call riderways on around their little country towns. It's all sealed pavement there. It's very dangerous, very slippery on the metal shoes. So being able to have a boot which has got traction on all surfaces is a lot safer and prevents a lot of serious injuries.
This is why I can't understand too. There are so many mounted forces all across the globe, and I think the biggest percent of them still wear steel, and it's so dangerous and so slippery. It's like a horse. When a horse takes chase, it's like cantering on an ice rink or running on an ice rink. And one day, hopefully, they'll realise.
So okay, so you can how do you sell this product? You package them 5 in one box, or is it individual? How does the sale, like, how do you sell it?
We sell them in tote bags. And
is it individuals, or do you have a bunch of them in one bag together in a box? Or how do you sell them individually?
Just a pair in a tote bag with accessories.
Oh, okay. That's how you sell it. So if somebody wants to buy it on like they have a personal horse, right? So they would buy it for how do they buy it? Like probably 6 pieces a year. And as compared to someone who's working in the police force and they want to buy it for all their horses. So how does the sale work for that?
Number one is the horse has got to be sized correctly.
Oh,
So before you even think about buying boots, you got to work out the size of your horse's hooves, and that's our biggest, probably one of our biggest issues worldwide is ensuring correct sizing.
so you go in and give them consultation, or how does this work? Like,
Yeah, we got from day one. We went down. We set up our own personal sizing team where you actually take different angled photos. You send them into Scoot Boot, and we size your horse up. And now, as the years have gone by, we've got our stockers who are hoof trimmers and giving up their traditional jobs and becoming hoof trimmers. And they're learning how to, with sizing kits, how to size people's horses up so they can do on-site sizings.
And that's one of our pain points in our business. And recently we designed and developed in collaboration with ISW here in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia, a sizing app. We have launched it on the app
Apple
shop,
Store? Yeah.
Apple Store, but we still have a few little problems to iron out. And once we do that, we'll then advertise that this sizing app is available. But it will just make the process a little bit easier for the customer, for the end user. But eventually there'll be a lot of iterations of this app, and eventually, hopefully, they'll be able to size themselves. But until then, we incentivize the sizing because we want to make sure that everyone gets into the right size and they have the optimum fit. So we have after-sales service as well with our sizing team. So our sizing team will advise what size to take. We incentivize it by free sizing, free freight, free shipping, and also free exchange in the event they need to.
Let me get this straight. So I'm interested. I have a horse, a personal horse, and I see this podcast. I want to buy your product. So I send an email, and then I send you photos, and then you size it up for free. And then what happens? Like how does the sale take place?
They place an order. So our e-commerce site is transactional. So all they need to do is head up to the shop and place the order with the size that we have advised them to purchase, and then they should receive delivery, depending on where they are in the world, within a week from placing the order.
Okay, surely you must have competitors. You've been in the market for 10 years. I'm sure somebody would have copied the idea. Do you have competitors?
It's only 8 years we've been in the market.
Oh, sorry, 8 years. Sorry.
Yeah, there's we got competitors out there. There's people coming online all the time with new type of product, but with patents, there's only so many ways you can patent a boot. We've had a couple of competitors that try to copy us as close as they can with some of their design, but so far we believe we've got the premium product due to our strong patent protection.
Yeah, we are the only company in Australia that produces hoof boots, and there are probably 8 competitors across the globe who
got the majority
produce a hoof boot. And as Dave said, our patent claims are quite strong, and we've filed those claims across the globe. So there's really not much, if anyone is wanting to produce a hoof boot, not much they can do, or if they can't actually improve our boot at all or improve a hoof boot because we've got our claims protected. But of course, they can easily infringe the claim, but we'll certainly be coming after them if they do.
So, okay, you can buy a minimum one piece. Okay. And how is the, can you tell me about the, how many do you produce out of Indonesia? Like if you could divulge those figures, but if you can't, it's fine. But I was just wondering how many you produce in a year.
We've got 10,000. we don't disclose that sorts of information for competitors' information, but we've obviously we're rapidly increasing our production as the market's rapidly growing.
We've got almost 1,000 stockists that have registered with us. I think 600 of which are active, but we've got stockists across the globe. So we're constantly looking at new markets to enter, analysing those markets to see whether we should enter. But you know, we're growing every day, and there are new stockists that register with us, making application to become stockists every day. So you know, we're scaling up. We're preparing to scale up in America for next year. We've just signed up a distributor, so we're going to be kept very busy as well as our manufacturer.
Because we haven't just got it's not just a riding boot. We also got scoot boots are used as a therapeutic boot, used as a spare tyre for people who are determined to keep shoeing. Well, when they lose a shoe, they can put a boot on to keep riding. So yeah, so it's a multi-purpose boot. Not just a riding.
And also,
yeah, sorry.
Also, we're just entering into a new market as well, and that's reiners. So I don't know whether you know what a reiner is, but it's quite a big riding discipline in America and also Europe. And you've probably seen it on, what's that show? Yellowstone, where they slide to a stop. They're working animals, cutting horses, but they do a lot of stop work and slide to a stop. So they use sliders on the rear of their hooves, and our boot is the only boot in the world that can actually fit over a slider. It's called a sliding shoe, and it means that a lot of these horses are able to head out on the trails using our product because they won't slide. They can't normally do that with sliders on because there's a real chance of sliding and injuring the horse. There are a lot of horses that are confined to stables. They can now be turned out using our product so they don't injure themselves, and also transporting. So it's a big market that we're just about to enter into, which is going to solve a problem for those horses that are wearing sliders. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah,
a lot of those horses to get out on the trails now.
So I just want to ask you a question. It's probably a naughty question, but what's the reason? Why hasn't this product been an Australian-made product? Is there any reason, any challenges you'd like to talk about in the podcast?
Challenges with manufacturing here in Australia.
Cost.
It's cost prohibitive. We do produce some of our accessories here in Tasmania, but yeah, unfortunately it's just cost prohibitive for us.
All the manufacturers, all our competitors manufacture in Asia. There's only one that is locally made in the US, but the majority of all our competitors manufacture throughout Asia
and Europe.
Yeah.
All right. So how is winning the e-commerce Exporter of the Year award influence Scoot Boot in terms of brand visibility and future business prospects? So basically, when you win this award, right, basically, how does it help your business?
Well, I think it just elevates us onto the international market. It provides us with a lot of credibility in relation to what we do. It also provides a platform for us to talk about the welfare of horses and the benefits of going barefoot and using our product. And it's a prestigious award. It's an award that takes some time to prepare when you're making application. It's almost like you're doing a due diligence on your business to make sure that it's operating efficiently. And to have won this award, I mean, we export to around 100 countries now, and that's a major feat. You know, we enter into some markets where it's very expensive and there are problems, like there are customs problems, border problems, remote areas that we need to get our product into. So it can be quite challenging. So to be recognised as the Australian E-commerce Exporter of the Year with all these challenges that we face it's a great award to win, and we're very appreciative that Austrade puts on these awards, and we're appreciative of all the sponsors that get behind the awards, and to have won is just something that we'll always be happy about and always celebrate. Very, very humble to have won this award.
Yeah, congratulations from us. So that's all that we have for today. The episode of 30 Minutes with dailystraits.com. A big thank you to David and also Annette from Scootwood for their insightful conversation, especially how to start a business from scratch and keep it, going and thriving. So thank you so much.
Can I just also add that we've got an amazing team. So without the team, we would never be where we are today. So they do an amazing job.
So how many people are behind your backbone? Like now you're just you started 2 of you, but how many do you have right now?
I have around 16 employees at the moment, but we're recruiting in the new year, another 3 or 4. So, and we're bursting at the seams. So we're looking at buying the next door neighbour warehouse next door. So hopefully in the new year we'll have more people and more space. So.
Awesome. All right. So to our listeners, I'll just continue that again. Thank you so much for joining us. So any last words from David and Annette for anyone who's struggling to continue their journey on their e-com business? Would you like to say anything?
You've got to have, my side of things, you've got to have 100% belief in your product, and then the world's your oyster.
Yeah, absolutely. Find a niche and believe in your product and be passionate about it, and look around for some help. There's so many resources out there. There's Austrade. There's just a lot of resources out there that you can tap into that will help you along your way. So Oz Industry as well, which I think is rebranded to something else. I'm not sure what it's called now, but yeah, be passionate about your product and a lot of hard work.
Awesome.
Creates drive. Passion creates drive.
Yeah, passion creates drive. Awesome. All right. Thank you for your time today. This is 30 Minutes with dailystraits.com, and I am your host, June Ramdi. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
June.
you.
Thanks for having us.